living in a time. I think we're living in a time when these monolithic systems are breaking down.
What we call civilization is a failed experiment. The writing is on the wall that it's already failed.
And we should be saying, hey, it was a nice experiment, it didn't work for us, it didn't actually make us feel any better, and it's not working for the planet as a whole.
We have an economic collapse, and we'll either have that or something close to it.
We're actually living through the collapse of industrial civilization.
Civilization as we know it is untenable, not only destructive and hurtful and abstracting us from our very emotions, but also untenable and can't last.
Civilizations have collapsed before, empires have collapsed before.
There's no way we in the West can continue with this level of lifestyle, and the rest of the world also wanting it. China, India, and places in South America also coming along, developing very fast, like Brazil, to say, oh no, you can't do this, you can't have all the cars we've had and the energy and the luxuries.
So if we would have some sort of an economic collapse, back to the drawing board kind of thing, it may be useful. And then we may come up with some freedom.
We need to shift and set an example of a different way of living. I think that's something that has to happen if we're going to make the shift easily.
It was announced today that gasless Sundays will go into effect as of next month.
At what point do we recognize we got nothing left to lose?
How bad does it have to get before people recognize the necessity of change? Drastic change, meaning you actually have to sacrifice some of your purchasing, your comforts, some of your what you've grown accustomed to for the well-being of the planet.
I think it's going to end with everybody changing their habits and going back to the things that maybe our parents were used to that we have never seen before.
Just start working now, otherwise we won't have time. We're going to be out of oil within a few years.
People say, well, it's not going to run out in our time, but we have to think of our kids and our kids' kids and how they're going to have to put up with a whole lot of stuff.
What I've seen of people, most of them are pretty selfish. When it comes right down to home, why, they just want to go along the same old way.
Make a life change, not just, oh yes, I do care, and I'll send my little check off.
Send Red Cross $100 or $1,000 to deal with tsunami victims, whatever it is, which is great. I mean, it's wonderful that people around the world are doing that, but we're still not really taking responsibility for the global crisis.
Most people, as long as their life is somewhat comfortable and everything goes along somewhat normally, they aren't interested in making any changes in their lifestyle.
Our response to change ever, always in the species has been resistance. It's more comfortable.
Personal comfort, me first, as long as my life feels okay, to hell with the rest of the world. There's millions of children starving, people starving on this planet right now, but as long as your refrigerator's full and it doesn't affect you, it really doesn't affect you. If everything that you're plugged into is disconnected and no longer functioning, without these diesel trucks bringing you everything you need, without the whole system, monetary system functioning.
Now what? Well, now we're starting the hard way, close to old Mother Nature. You and everybody else on Earth have some things in common. You want to stay alive. To stay alive, you have to have food. You have to have some shelter against the elements. You want to be as comfortable as you can. So let's start with this common problem and see what it takes.
Waking up to this reality is really, really painful. The culture will not change until they're given no choice.
Unfortunately, I think what might cause a lot of people to shift is pain. You know, when they can't get something, or when that something they paid $2 for is now $10 for.
The more it comes home to us, and the more we see that it's our actions or our decisions that are causing this, then I think we begin to wake up. It has to hit us at home. All the time it's hitting somebody out there.
I think a lot of people refuse to change or don't have any interest in any sort of conservation until the shit's hitting the fan.
What are we going to do?
Better find somewhere to go. There's going to be a storm any minute.
There's no real move to conserve unless we're almost already out of whatever it is we're trying to conserve at that point.
We cannot produce as much as we can use, as we are equipped to use in our homes and our factories. This situation is destined to continue indefinitely. And by indefinitely, I mean not only just the next few years, but as far ahead as we can see.
We don't conserve until we're down to the last roll of toilet paper. And that's the classic non-Cherokee 7 generations looking to the future. We don't even look, beyond next Tuesday. And I think that's a huge mistake.
Those who don't go willingly will, I think, suffer a lot of pain. More people who can make that inner shift themselves, who can let go of this materialistic belief system, the easier it'll be for them. And I think the more they'll be able to help others through.
It will be when we can't afford oil to commute back and forth to the suburbs. That's when we'll start eating, when we have to.
When willing to look and not in denial. We can't go on like we are.
Wake up. Don't you see what's happening?
We're at the point of no return. If we go much further, we won't be able to restore the balance that we've destroyed. It doesn't have to get any worse. Can't you see what's going on? But for the masses of people, they're still sound asleep and snoring. It's going to have to get a lot worse before they see the results of their actions.
We can fantasize all we want about some groovy eco-socialist utopia, and if you can't breathe the air, it doesn't matter.
This is something that people are going to have to wake up to pretty quick before it's too late.
El día que se enferme el corazón del mundo, sepa que el fin del mundo está a la puerta. Nosotros queríamos que entendiera, hermanito menor, el mensaje del corazón del mundo. Porque la madre tierra está débil. Hermanito menor quería crecer, agrandar materialmente, pero necesita espiritual. Si no busca espiritual, tarde o temprano iba a haber violencia de naturaleza, violencia de humanidad, toda clase de violencia de humanidad.
Weather is making news tonight all over the world. In Pakistan, the death toll continues to climb from the worst flooding ever seen in that nation.
I don't know. We must be doing something to our Earth.
In Russia, a state of emergency has been declared due to wildfires fueled by
tornadoes.
Entonces, hoy en día se está viendo.
Twin crises as Mother Nature goes on a rampage. 2 disasters, thousands of miles apart, and now thousands are feared dead.
Entonces yo preguntaba, ¿por qué pasaría esto? ¿Por qué va a pasar esto? ¿Qué pasaría cuando ustedes dejan de cancelar la deuda? Se le paga. Cuando no le pagamos va a pasar eso.
Entonces, y eso es que nos cobra nuestra naturaleza. Si no hace algo, o alguna vaina no hace allá, si no, tiene que pagarme porque no va a hacer. ¿No?
Pero no es que mismo Seranco quiere acabar el mundo, sino que nosotros, humanidad, queremos acabar el mundo. Pero ellos decían, cuando hermanito menor conozca la ley espiritual, el pago espiritual, ya está.
Sirens blared, but for many, it was already too late.
Cuando ya estamos sufriendo, vamos a entender, pero eso va a ser muy tarde.
Bueno, por eso, tomamos también eso dicho, no es tarde, pero acojamos nosotros lo que estamos criando.
Esto le estoy explicando aquí para que el hermanito menor entienda y reflexione y reconozca sus errores.
A pedir en nuestro Dios lo que están haciendo, su templo.
¿Hasta cuándo vamos a conocer nuestros errores mental, espiritual, material?
We could change this, we could turn all this around, we could stop all this nuclear, we could stop all of the destruction of nature and the destruction of the water, destruction of the land, destruction of the air. When we could have turned it back, but the people didn't listen to the other elders that gave those messages. Because things have gone tenfold in the destructive direction.
Situation is developing into such a thing that the planet Earth is saying, you used me. I'm willing to nourish you, I'm willing to protect you, to heal you, to clothe you, to feed you, but don't use me.
The earth, and we rearrange it with our technology into all these objects that the earth doesn't know what to do with, these plastics and these metals and all these.
This exploitation of the planet Earth for supposed human benefits, but with a totally destructive impact.
When I look at trees, I see dollar bills. That's the essence of the resource perspective. And if when I look at trees, I see dollar bills, I'm going to treat them one way. If I perceived you as a resource, basically, how can I use you?
Man persists in channeling the vast wealth contained in the earth and sea to his purposes. He continues to challenge the harsh, stubborn forces of nature and appears to be winning. Is he now, as in the past, simply exploiting and plundering?
We've got to start looking at them for what they are, that they belong in the earth.
We can't depend on pulling out resources from the earth. For one thing, they'll disappear. For the other thing, most of our use of resources now is so careless it's causing backfire, repercussions, pollutions, wars, I mean all kinds of stuff.
A 21st century gold rush. They're blasting it, digging it, hauling it away in massive trucks, all because the price of gold is at a record high, more than $1,100 an ounce. Nowadays, the gold in them thar hills, as in most mines, is microscopic particles. Getting the gold out is a massive task. They grind it, treat it, heat it, until finally they can squeeze out the good stuff. For 190,000 tons of earth they move each day, they'll get a few thousand ounces of gold.
The earth needs gold inside itself. We're taking parts out of the earth that the earth needs as part of its physical being.
Our Mother Earth is a living being, just as we are. If that happened to our own bodies, we would die. But when we can look at it in that way, we're killing Mother Earth.
What we are faced with in historical terms is a transition from a 20th century that exploited the planet Earth to a 21st century when that exploitation cannot continue.
Everything that we need is already here. We don't have to alter anything. We don't have to change anything. And we do that in the name of progress.
That the earth is sacred. Waka. Grandmother Earth is a source, not a resource.
This concern for sustainability, that nature doesn't really need help. It's people that need help.
In one big research laboratory, they're trying to find out what makes grass green.
Sustainability, the way it's thrown about, is a con job. It's nothing but a con job. It's crap that we hear all the time about sustainability.
With automobile engines, we've just really started. The indication is that someday they will give us 300 miles to the gallon.
If they were honest, if they said, driving a hybrid car will burn less gas, but it's still a really bad idea.
Extended range electric car powered by the miracle of the advanced lithium-ion battery pack.
Progress. It starts with more models than anyone with an EPA estimated 30 miles per gallon highway or better. Next, it's a lineup of hybrids that fit the way you live.
If they could develop a hydrogen vehicle, a non-polluting, energy-free vehicle, what that would allow for is the continuation of the paving of the entire world. Do you realize that there's more pavement in the United States than the square miles of the original 13 colonies?
We widen our streets and invite more traffic. More freeways, more cars. And so the cycle goes.
So all this sustainability stuff is simply trying to make this fundamentally exploitative system careen on a little bit longer.
The small reparations or accommodations we make, like recycling, actually can contribute to the longevity of a system that is destroying not only the world, but our spirits.
People who are doing pathetic little changes but not questioning capitalism itself.
Are we talking about the sustainability of the system that's steadily becoming more and more abstract? The cities are becoming less and less beautiful, the forests being cut.
What the word sustainable means is something that you can do forever, something you can do indefinitely.
So what do we really want to sustain? We have to be careful with the kinds of technological and legalistic measures that allow the paradigm to continue with business as usual. The worst thing that could happen would be for us to contribute to business as usual. What we need is a complete disruption of the paradigm.
If the actions of this culture were sustainable, 90% of the large fish in the oceans wouldn't be gone. And this culture is functionally, systematically unsustainable. And buying a new car is not going to help it.
Teaching sustainability because it's the only way to live. Telling the kids about the mistakes of the past when what our wasteful ancestors did back in the year 2000 something.
The basic idea of the future is to listen to the earth, to be sensitive to what the earth, how the earth is functioning, and what enables the earth to produce the wonderful things that it produces in its natural process. There is such an abundance, such an remarkable abundance of wonders and beauty.
And the place is trashed. The place is absolutely trashed.
Without nature, there isn't any life. Any life.
Unfortunately, we're not born with knowledge. We have to learn it. Nature is the ultimate teacher for that. Lots of insights, lots of secrets and lessons with which we could help ourselves. Yet every day we destroy that teacher bit by bit.
What the earth is teaching is a call to an awareness and an empathy so expansive that we sense the very pain of the earth.
We need to reach out to the natural world instead of being separated from us, as we really have as a culture since the Industrial Revolution. We really turned our back on the natural world.
The more we turn our back on it, the more we have given up the possibility of learning from nature as a kind of supreme teacher.
Most young people don't have a clue. Most children know about only about less than 10 plants in their neighborhoods, and can identify almost 1,000 logos of corporations. I think they've got some serious problems there.
Yes, Jack, the vacation will soon be over, and you'll be going back to school. You and Betty and thousands of other young people will get down to work in the business of preparing yourselves for the life ahead. And what good prospects the life ahead holds. You will live in finer homes than your forefathers ever dreamed of.